This is Inside the Locker Room, where football isn't just a game, it's a war zone. Every take, unfiltered. Every prediction, ruthless. From Sunday battles to primetime legends. We break down the matchups, the mind games, and the moments that define champions. Fantasy, film, trash talk, all inside the locker room. So if you came for smoke, you're in the fire now.
We are back with another episode of Inside the Locker Room on HBCU Central. And today we do have a very important guest with us, our inaugural men's volleyball coach from Umes, Dr. Brockman. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you guys?
We're doing good. And I told Michael, I said, Michael, I let you take the keys today and control the ship. Michael, so I promise I will keep that promise. So the ship is all yours.
All good, all good. But ladies and gentlemen, Deuce really just gave the introduction for Dr. Blackman. But I want to give y'all a deep history about this intelligent and, like Deuce said, inaugural head coach here. So, ladies and gentlemen, please open your ears and get ready to learn some history about Coach Blackman here. So, ladies and gentlemen, please again help me welcome the historical inaugural head coach of the University of Maryland Eastern Shore men's volleyball program, Dr. Anitra Brockman. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Blackman stepped into sports history as the very first Black woman to lead a men's Division One volleyball program at an HBCU. After a highly successful tenure building the upstart of the Hawks program and leading them through their historical 2026 inaugural season in the Northeast Conference, she established a powerful legacy of leading with intention and building exceptional student athletes. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, one more time, please help me in joining and welcoming Dr. Anitra Blackman. Coach, welcome to HBCU Central.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So, like Deuce said, I'm basically gonna be taking over this show, y'all. So, if you're tuning in, please tune in because we got somebody who's going to give us some education about men's volleyball. Coach, I want to do this right quick before we get started. I want you to give us a lecture about men's volleyball and why it's very important to you before we start with questions.
Yeah, men's volleyball is important to me. One, because I have a son who started playing the sport when he was 10 years old. And I realized when I started coaching girls and women's volleyball, and then my son started playing, I already noticed there weren't very many coaches that looked like me in the sport. But then when my son started playing, I started realizing there weren't very many players that looked like him. And so it was important that not only I continued my track as a coach, my success, but it was important that I continued it by being an advocate for the sport and growing the game and providing access and diversity in an underrepresented sport.
Absolutely. So I definitely understand the vision, and I was telling Deuce before I got you on the show. I was like, Deuce, it's one thing that we do not know nothing about is men's volleyball, and he agreed because like I said, you're the first coach to actually come on this show for our volleyball segment. Like I said, normally we do basketball, football, softball, and baseball, but we're trying to expand our sports vision for HBCUs. And I just happen to hear so much about you. And be honest with you, the way I heard about you was really funny because I was just flipping through reels on Instagram and I just happened to see you being interviewed by another person about men's volleyball. And I was like, men's volleyball. I said, I told this, I'm gonna be honest, I never even really thought about like I know like girls volleyball, right? I mean, I'm just gonna be honest. I didn't know there was a men's volleyball thing. Now, of course, it's the college thing, playing in a park, in the beach, stuff like that, but not the actual sport. So I told Deuce, I'm like, Deuce, we got to get Coach Blackman on here because she's not only going to educate us, but she's going to educate a bunch of other people who probably don't even know about men's volleyball like we do.
Mhm.
So I really appreciate you. First of all, congratulations on being the first black woman to lead a men's program. That is huge. I don't know how much I can make that up because as a black woman to lead a men's program, a lot of people be like, it's a lot more difficult than what it seems. But I've heard you say in the interview that it's it's really about attacking it head on, be who you are and being intelligent with it. And I've seen the intelligence that you have put into that program. I've like I said, I've been a very big fan of what you've been able to do for that program and for the men's volleyball program. So, like you said, shout out to you, Coach Blackman, for everything that you have done throughout your coaching career at University of Maryland Eastern Shore. And we will continue to keep following you more. And I appreciate you not only lecturing us about men's volleyball, but also lecturing our HBCU people who probably don't know much about men's volleyball too. Some of y'all might. I mean, I'm not saying all y'all don't, but it's good to have another intelligent leader like you to expand your horizon of a black woman is just as intelligent as the world because the world is already trying to make it seem like black women are not capable of anything, but a coach like you, stepping in that program and putting your foot down, basically say, I can control this. I might be a black woman, but I can control the adversity, and you've proven that. So I'm on behalf of me, I am proud of the success that you have put in, and can continue to step your foot, step your foot on the world, basically saying that don't sleep on me because I am that woman. As my mama would say, I am that woman. um, Deuce, did you have anything that you wanted to say? I didn't want to take the mic away from you, man. You've been sitting
No,
there for a
no,
minute.
I was just no, I'm just like you said. I'm sitting here getting educated, just listening. And I'm just waiting for the interview. But your story so far, it sounds incredible because, like Michael said, a lot of people wouldn't even think that we have a men's site. And on top of that, for HBCUs, I believe this is the first inaugural HBCU men's volleyball program, if I read correctly. So that just makes it even bigger for this
Yeah,
accomplishment.
Yeah, and we are the first Division One. I definitely have to give accolades and credit to the Division Two HBCUs that have men's volleyball. So Fort Valley State, Edward Waters, Central State, Benedict. I'm sure I've left off some other schools, but the Division Two schools in the SIAC, the SIAC, they started men's volleyball. And I was fortunate to be part of that. I coached at Central State before coming to the University of Maryland Eastern Shore. So we're not the first out of all of them, but we are the first Division One, true Division One HBCU to have men's volleyball.
incredible story, incredible story. Oh my, I'm excited. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get my words out. I'm excited. I've been like prepping for this all week. I've been telling my wife about it. We got a woman who's leading a men's volleyball program, and she was like, what is that? And I'm just like, it's men's. They're playing volleyball, but it's kind of like girls volleyball. I was like, oh, I never heard of that. And I was like, neither have I. But like I'm gonna keep saying this. Like your story was just so thrilling to me. I had to get you on here, coach, and I also appreciate you for responding. These past couple of days, like I said, I've been trying to get as much information and detail to you so we can make this as smooth and transition as possible. If you're ready, I am bound to ask you the questions that I sent you. But like I said, I am excited to have you on here because your story, I cannot keep expressing that enough. Your story has just been remarkable to me. And it's also another reason why black women are just as intelligent, smart, incredible leaders in not just, in the outside world, but even in the sports world. So thank you for setting the foundation as a black woman and putting your name out there and setting the record straight for not just us black people, but for black women as well. Um, so we're gonna go ahead and jump into questions here. Coach, you ready to go?
I'm ready to go.
All right, let's do it. Like I told you before, knowing this is really how I do questions. I do chapters, then I give you the question name, and then I answer you the question. So this
Okay.
first question, I send it to you. Basically, it's called program building and culture, but the question name is called building the foundation. Right, Coach? You led the Hawks to an impressive 17-11 record in their very first season. My question to you is, what were the most critical steps you took to build a cohesive team culture from scratch before the players even arrived on that campus?
Yeah, I tell you, I was very blessed to have an opportunity to recruit and think about the vision and culture I wanted to build before jumping in. Most coaches don't get that opportunity. Usually it's you're hired and you got to build and go. I had a whole year to do that. And so over the course of that year, I had to decide what type of players I was looking for. I wanted to make sure that I was bringing in high character players before I brought in the talent first. Because I wanted players that were going to represent not only myself as the coach, but the university and the program, especially with it being an inaugural program. So that was the first thing. It was getting to know each player. I could see what they could do on and off the court, or on the court, I should say, but I didn't know what they were like off the court. So grades, character, getting to know their families really played a factor. Then I brought them on campus and they all met each other. And that was another kind of test to see how they all interacted. Is a little unorthodox because I normally wouldn't do that. I'd bring individuals on, but I brought them all together as a group. And just seeing how they responded to each other, I was like, I'm starting to see this team form, and they haven't even been on the court. Once players started signing and the team was formed, we decided to set up Zoom meetings. Before they ever stepped foot on campus, we had Zoom meetings. We met about culture, we met about buy in, we met about goals. It was really me asking them, what would you like for this program to look like? It wasn't going to be just a program where I was going to decide as the coach what things were going to be. I told him it's not a dictatorship. It's going to be a player led mentality. And in order for it to be that, I needed their buy in and their input. And so having those Zoom meetings, we met once a month from December of 2024 all the way until they got to campus, August of 2025. And then once they got to campus and we started having practices, it was like they'd known each other for years because they had already bought in to the structure and the systems. And that wasn't even talking about, plays and defensive schemes, offensive schemes. It wasn't any of that. No X's and O's. It was really just talking about this is what we want our program to look like. This is the importance of what it looks like for us to be the Division I HBCU, the only one playing in a predominantly white conference, the NEC. We talked about all those things and what it was going to look like, how it was going to feel, and then also the pressure that was going to be put on them of being an HBCU competing in a non-HBCU conference and what that looked like. And we talked about when we travel, you might get schools that are going to look at you. We get off the bus, we go somewhere, you're going to get people looking at you. We talked about those things. I was a very I was very transparent throughout the process because I didn't want to be a coach that fed them info just to get them on the team, but without giving them the realities of what could happen being an HBCU men's volleyball team. So I think that transparency, along with providing them the skills off the court. We did leadership skills. I helped them with interview skills. They all created LinkedIn profiles. So it wasn't just about the volleyball. For me, it was about the impact and making sure that they understood that they were valued as young men off the court, just as equally as they were on the court. So that
Yeah.
17-11 record is amazing. But the culture that we built, that's the reason why we had that record and the success that we had.
Culture is a huge step, especially in the first season. And I don't care what no one says. 17-11, that's a perfect start to start your program, especially as a coach. Because I preach this all the time. Your first season is your production season. Basically, what I mean by it is, seeing where your team is at. Are we headed in the right direction, or do we have something that we can build off on upon this success? Really, it can go either way. But in reality, some coaches, their first year is just their, I gotta put this, like I said, results. You want to see how your team is and what can we build upon in this second season. So 17-11, most people be like, man, that's not really that good. Actually, it really is because there's a lot of adversity that comes with that record, and that's a good winning record because most HBCUs it's hard to get a winning season like that. Having more wins than losses. But the fact that y'all finished 17-11, that's a historical jump on where, like you said, on where we want to be. So congratulations on being 17-11. If people don't see it that way, I see it that way. So again, I'm proud of the success that you built in just that first season going 17-11. But Deuce,
And my question to you is, men's volleyball at the HBCU. You mentioned how it's been at the D2 level, but it's starting to come to the D1 level. And just why do you believe that men's volleyball is going to be the sport to grow in the HBCU community?
Um, I think that it is a sport that is often overlooked because people don't know about it. But I think because it's being brought to the forefront and there's been success from HBCUs, especially you look at Fort Valley State, they've gone to the NCAA tournament. So, what a lot of people don't know about men's volleyball, because there aren't a lot of teams yet in the Division 1 area, Division 1 and 2 compete for the same national championship. So, when we say that we're the first Division 1 HBCU, a lot of people get confused because they say, well, wait a minute, there's Fort Valley State. It's like, yes, Fort Valley State is Division 2, and they compete for a Division 1 championship just like we did. But I will tell you that other HBCUs should take note and realize the success that not only Fort Valley State has had, but you look at all the other D2 schools that have had success. They may not have gone and won championships, but they've had winning seasons, or they have won games where they were the underdogs. There are victories within that, right? So I do believe that HBCUs should start looking at investing in growing men's volleyball, just like we're adding women's sports because those are important. I do believe men's volleyball is a sport where diversity needs to be talked about, access needs to be talked about, and seeing that there are HBCUs that are being successful in it. There are other HBCUs that I think should start adding it, and they'll see the success as well.
absolutely, absolutely, coach. We're gonna jump to the next question here. Coach, we're on the same chapter, program building and culture, but this question is called establishing a D1 presence. as a first D1 HBCU men's volleyball program, like you initiated, what unique challenges did you face in establishing a competitive edge in the Northeastern Conference, basically the NEC Conference, ladies and gentlemen, right out of the gate?
I mean, initially, I feel like the challenges in itself being an HBCU, being an HBCU, competing in an underrepresented sport. I think that was the challenge in and of itself. However, we took that challenge and accepted it and raised it. I think that that was something that we talked about every day in the gym. That we weren't taking it as a challenge of, oh man, we're going to get beat, or man, HBCUs don't have success winning against non-HBCU schools. We didn't look at it that way. What we did was we said we're a brand new program. We were ranked number 6 preseason. We used that as fuel and said, you know what? They're ranking us that way because they don't know about us. We're an HBCU that just added men's volleyball. They don't know about us. We don't have tradition or, a roster we're bringing back. We don't have history. We're creating it every single day. So I think for us, the challenge was doing everything we said we were going to do within our program, within our team. And we had to tune out any outside noise and understand that the pressure that came with being an HBCU D1 men's program, we weren't going to allow that to dictate how we performed or what we did during our season. And I'm so proud of those 18 young men because day in and day out, they came in, worked their butts off, and then on top of that, not only in the gym, but in the classroom, and then represented their HBCU with pride. And then every time we'd go compete, when we'd get done, whether we won or we didn't win, because that was something we never said. We never used the L word. It was win or win in our gym. It was you win by the scoreboard or you win by learning from the lesson of the non-win. So we talked about it. We regrouped and so yeah, the challenge in itself was just us making sure that we weren't going to succumb to outside pressures, just competing and doing what we said we were going to do and representing every single HBCU.
Deuce.
And this is my last question, but recruiting has played in a huge factor in the landscape of college sports in almost every sport. So, just as a head coach, and what I want to ask you is, what do you look for when it comes to recruiting players for your program?
Yeah. Number one priority is character. You could be the most talented person, but if you are not someone that is high character, that is respectful, I don't want you on my team. It goes a long way. One person can ruin it for the entire program. And I truly believe that if you have high character student athletes in your program who also care about their grades, are respectful, they're good teammates, and they're coachable. Um, and on top of it, have the talent, right? Because that's important too. Um, but those things are the priority to me: character, integrity, and accountability. If you have all three of those things on top of the skill set, I had a range of athletes on the team, some that had played for since they were 10, and some who had only played for a couple of years. Those things didn't matter to me. It didn't matter how many years you had played. What mattered was, do you have the talent? Are you coachable? How's your character? And then are you going to hold yourself accountable and have high integrity? Those things were highly important to me.
Absolutely, absolutely. In order to build a winning foundation, you have to have players that have the winning mindset in them before they even get to that university. And then, like you said, you want to be able to coach these guys because no coach in their right mind wants to coach a player that is uncoachable. Because when you have a player that's undisciplined or a roster that's undisciplined, you're not to that team. You're not going to have that season that you want. And as a coach, you want to have a winning season, but you want to also have a winning discipline, a winning mindset, a winning practice. Those things matter on building a phenomenal winning championship team. And my dad always told me you can't teach a player. That player has to want to be taught. He has to be want to be taught. He want to be able to see how it's done. And most players in nowadays in their right mind, they feel like, oh, I already know the game. I just committed to this school because it's a great university or it's a great campus. I already know the game, but that's good that you know the game, but you also want to make sure that you learn it because when you learn it, that a coach is here to help you. But if you're not willing to take that time to listen and you want to go at your own path, not a lot of coaches are going to want you there. Like you said, I don't want to play on my team that does not have that winning mindset because it's going to mess it up for everyone, and that's true. So I completely agree with what you're saying, and I know recruiting has probably, I don't know if recruiting has started for you or probably has not, but if it has, I wish you the best of luck. And if it hasn't, I wish you the best of luck anyway, because it's not easy to grab. Um, it's not easy to grab the players that you want because there are a lot of schools that want certain players, but at the same time, it's really just a matter of um, being comfortable with that player because anybody can pick somebody. It's just a matter of being comfortable with that player on your team, that player that you can trust. But we're gonna jump into. I have two more questions for you, Coach, and we're gonna let you continue throughout your day because I know you're probably busy and have a lot on your plate. So I'm gonna go and get you out the way. I promise. Uh, this next chapter is called leadership and representation. But this question is called breaking barriers. Coach, as the first Black woman to lead a Division I men's volleyball program. My question to you is how do you approach the responsibility of paving the way for other female and minority coaches in this space?
Well, first, I have to say, I am not the first. I'm the first to lead a true Division I men's volleyball program, but I've always given flowers to the other minority coaches who have paved the way. Nikki Sandlin at McKendree, she was the first Black woman to lead a Division II men's volleyball program at a non-HBCU. But her flowers to her because she paved the way. Without her leading that way, there wouldn't be opportunities for coaches like myself, right? And then you also look at Larry Rather at Fort Valley State, Carl France at Fairleigh Dickinson, Penny Lucas White on the women's volleyball side, Olympian, phenomenal woman, and then Deidre Collins Parker. There are just so many people that I can say helped pave the way. But the thing that I feel is most important, it's not about necessarily saying that you're the first. You want to continue to shed some light and pave the way so that there's never going to be a last. And I think that's the most important to me. I want to continue being a mentor, paving the way, opening doors for other young Black women and young women in general, young minorities who want to coach, and I want to help them get to their goal. And I think that's where we lack right now. We need more mentors. We need more people to say, hey, I'm going to take you under my wing and I want to help you get from point A to point B or wherever it is you want to go. I want to help you get there. And I think that's where a lot of coaches need to step up and help in that arena. So for me, it's not about being the first. I think it's an amazing thing. And it's something that I'm proud of. But like I said, I want to make sure that I'm around to help mentor and build up young coaches who want to be coaches, whether it's of men's volleyball or another underrepresented sport. But I want to make sure that there won't be a last. That's what's important to me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Deuce, did you have another question that you wanted to ask, good sir?
That was actually my last one. I was waiting for your last question.
Okay, I got you. Okay, so coach, this is my last question here, and I wanted to ask you this because this really shined a light on me when I was doing my research and I saw this, and also I appreciate you making that correction for me. Because I'm gonna be honest with y'all, ladies and gentlemen, my research isn't always top tier, but you know, sometimes, not always. Let me put it this way: not all research is always gonna be accurate, right? So there are gonna be some things that are gonna be left out. There are gonna be some things that you probably did not, expect. So I appreciate you correcting me on that because, like I said, I am not the best at at, at the research, situation, but I do what I can. I do what I can. But this is my last question for you, Coach, and I'm really excited to ask you about this one. This is my favorite one. This question is called the "Why Not Us" impact. Coach, the ESPN Plus documentary, "Why Not Us," basically University of Maryland Eastern Shore volleyball, put a national spotlight on your program. How has that widespread media exposure impacted recruitment and the broader visibility of men's volleyball?
Wow, I tell you, it brought a lot of visibility to HBCUs and men's volleyball. I think where things were missing before, a documentary had been done, I want to say 2022, on the rise of HBCUs and men's volleyball. And that was for the D2 HBCUs. And it was just a general documentary. So for this one to come out and it to follow our program and for people to kind of see the journey that these young men went on, what I went through as a coach to build the program, I think it opened up access, right? But then also, to me, if there's a young black male watching that documentary and they see those 18 young men, they're saying, man, now I can see myself in this sport. Because I can tell you, there are some young black athletes out there that play men's volleyball and they don't either have the access nor the resources because this is an expensive sport to play. It's expensive to play club volleyball. If your high school doesn't have it, the only avenue you have is to play club volleyball, and it's expensive. And so they may not have a direct path to it. So watching that documentary, I'm hoping that they said, man, now I can see myself in this sport. I hope that there was a parent that watched it that said, man, I told my son to not play this sport because we can't afford it and there's no schools that have kids that look like him. I hope a parent watched it and said, you know what? There's a whole team that looks like my son. So I to have the opportunity to work with the folks at ESPN, First Point Volleyball Foundation, to believe in our program and to have those cameras following us day in and day out to really get a glimpse of what we were building is huge. Is huge. And if that means that just one player is going to now change their mind about playing this sport, one minority player, I'll take it. If it means 10, I'll take that too. But it starts with being an advocate. It starts with having that representation. If you don't see it, you can't be it. So I really truly believe that documentary helped young minorities be able to see themselves in that sport. It also helped people who didn't know much about the sport get a better understanding of the sport, because a lot of young boys are brought up that basketball and football are the only sports, right? The only way to go. And so you can play those sports as well as men's volleyball. Men's volleyball was always in the spring. Well, some states, it's always in the spring. When I coached high school, I had men's volleyball players that were basketball and football players, and they came to play volleyball. So I think multi-sport athletes are the best to bring to come play men's volleyball. But if you don't know about it, I promise you, go watch a game. Watch how they're high flying. Watch how competitive. There's a lot of trash talking through the net. It may not be as physical, but there's talking through the net. There's stare downs. It is truly a fun sport, and that documentary helped shed light on what this is all about. And I really hope that if people haven't watched it, I hope they do watch it, and I hope that it inspires them, if anything else.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then I'm gonna say this real quick. It's one thing that you know it's the normal reality of sports is that they're gonna be trash talk either way. It's gonna be trash talk at every sport. It's gonna be trash talk at every single one. And but at the same time, that's what makes it exciting, right? Bring building up that energy. Getting your opponent fired up. It makes it more competitive. And like you said, it makes it more watchable. And that's what me and Deuce try to preach all the time. Getting HBCU, that's part of the excitement. It's not just the trash talk; it's the culture at each and every university. But it's also, like you said, in men's volleyball. So at the same time, there's nothing wrong with a little bit of trash talk, because that's what makes it more exciting. That's what makes you on the edge of your seat, like, oh yeah, I got to watch this. So I've noticed that, and I like it. Especially from the men's volleyball perspective, the versatility, the ability, the communication on the court, and just seeing men. Basically seeing men playing volleyball as well, because it's basically saying if girls can do it, we can do it. And I'm very proud of the team that you have, and for the players that are probably watching this, I'm pretty sure you probably have some players watching this. I'm proud of the success that you guys have put on in your coach, and trusting her leadership, especially as a black woman, as a head coach. So, as far as me go, just keep moving forward. I support you guys, and coach, I support you, um, because your history and the culture that you've built in that volleyball team is is being spoken, and not just by your words, but on television. Sometimes you don't have to. Um, Sometimes you don't have to go find it. Sometimes it just comes to you on screen. That's the thing about watching, men's volleyball or any sport. Sometimes it's just the culture comes to you, and but it's always best to be there. I guess it's always best to be there, but it can come either way. But coach, I appreciate you so much for taking the time to be on here, and spread light on men's volleyball, and also spreading light on why you are doing what you're doing and what made you want to do this. So I appreciate you. Me and Deuce appreciates you. And first and foremost, I hope that you have enjoyed your time on here. I know I definitely have. I can't speak for Deuce, but I know I definitely have. On having on having you on here, and I will say that this will not be the last time we have you on here. And if you have a player that wants to come on here, bring them on. I'm gonna say this as many times as I possibly can. If there's any player or that you want to bring, if you are a coach or if you are a student and you want to bring, please bring them on, because this isn't just a sports show. This is a community foundation show. We're for all HBCUs. We're all for students, and you don't have to be an athlete to be on here. Let me make that clear. So yes, Coach, thank you again. This has been a remarkable day for me to have you on, um, and I don't really have anything else. Deuce, did you want to close this out, bro?
I was just gonna say, like Michael said, thank you for coming on to spread your knowledge, and actually, you coming on taught me a lot about the UMS's program, um, and everything that's been going on. And I'm gonna say this: hopefully, that this can be, well, not, I'm not gonna say this can be, but it's paves the way, for more D1 men's volleyball programs on the HBCU level, because that is what we want to see. And I'm also shout out to the D2 programs. Had it not been for you, I wouldn't have even known about our D2 programs. And I tell Michael this all the time. We got to show our D2 HBCUs love, because it's already hard enough that our D1 HBCUs get love, but our DT HBCUs need as much love as possible, because they're already underlooked. But
Right.
thank you for coming out and speaking with us today. It means a lot. And like me and Michael tell all of our guests, we'll send you over the YouTube video and the link to help support our athletes and our programs and our HBCUs. But all in all, what I got to just say is thank you for joining. And Michael, thank you for getting this set up.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Coach, thank you for responding to me when I first reached out to you. Because, like I said, I've tried my absolute hardest to get a coach from every sport on. But, like I was telling Deuce, the fact that she responded just made me even more excited. And I had to get this scheduled to make this happen because, you know, like I said, your story just spoke to me. And I was just like, Deuce, I got to get on here. I got to. Like, I don't care what else. I mean, normally this is our day off, right? Normally we have a day off on Wednesdays, but Deuce was like, we can do June 3rd, and I was like, bet, hey, I ain't got nothing else, so let's get her on here because we got to get men's volleyball. I gotta get a lecture in. I ain't even taking no notes. I'm gonna have to do some homework or something. But
I do appreciate both of you. To have the platform that you both have, uh, to allow people to come on and talk about their journey, their stories. Thank you for what you do. I am transitioning from UMES,
yeah,
so I do wish that program the absolute best. It's been a privilege and a pleasure to be the first coach in the history of that program. And I know that those young men and the new coach, when they are hired, will do amazing things. But I am just grateful that I was able to come on here and share our journey. And I definitely would be honored to come back and continue to build upon this relationship we've established. Thank you both.
ab- ab- absolutely. We thank you for trusting us with this. What the impact that we're trying to do because, like I said, we're trying to be a part of HCU community, but we also are trying to uplift every single HCU community because in the world today, it's a lot of adversity going against HBCUs. There have been a lot of people uh, putting HBCUs down, just bad mouthing them. And me and Deuce, we started this year in January. It was late January. I believe it was January 27th when we first started this. And, you know, it was just a matter of us, just getting on here, just spreading, knowledge. We've had guests come on, and we've grown in such a magnificent way. And I was telling dudes, I did not expect us to be at this point because we were just, making up an idea of like, dudes, we don't even talk about HBCUs. It was like, no, we don't. So let's make a platform. And I was like, bet. I was all with Bondi and that idea, but I think by the grace of God, I think He was pleased on what we were able to do because we wouldn't have grown the way we've grown if God was not pleased. So, I'm just beyond grateful of the impact that we made, and I appreciate those words because, like I said, we're doing absolutely everything we can to uplift HBCUs. Now, HBCU Central, that's not our YouTube channel; it's Inside the Locker Room. But like I was just saying before, me and Deuce was like, we need to talk about HBCUs and put them on our YouTube channel because no one else is. And um,
Right.
and I was like, what better way of having two young black men who know about HBCUs, that have been around HBCUs, put them on the spotlight. And I have been beyond grateful of doing this ever since. We've had a lot of people talk about us in positive ways. A lot of people have supported us in positive ways. So, Coach, I appreciate you for seeing the vision that what we're trying to do for HBCUs and for our HBCU communities as well. Coach, is there anything that you want to say lastly before we end this show off that you want to say to the public around the world? What is your message to the people?
The only message I really have is, just stay true to who you are, be your true authentic self. For those listening who are thinking about wanting to play men's volleyball at the next level, whether it be at an HBCU or you're a young minority and you're not going to an HBCU, you want to go somewhere else, you belong in this space. Don't let anyone tell you you don't. You belong in this space. To any coaches coming up, you belong in this space. Be yourself. Don't try to be anyone else. And just continue to grow the game, and help build up in this underrepresented sport. Let's help grow, continue growing the game. Thank you so much again for this opportunity. It was great to meet both of you.
Yes, ma'am. And did you want to say something, bro?
And I was just gonna say thank you for joining, and thank you, and you enjoy the rest of your evening. So, Michael, just to close us out, and to the ones watching this, our video will be posted up on YouTube. If y'all like the new format that we have been doing, we have been trying to do our videos in 20 to 30-minute increments. Michael, we kind of went a little bit overboard today, but that's fine because we did get some great content today. Look, I'm gonna say this to the ones watching: inside the locker room views have been down a little bit. I am not worried about it because I know they'll eventually get back up. We were telling Our team was telling this in the group chat. Right now, the world of sports is kind of dead. There's not a lot to really talk about with the MLB season kind of midway, and when Adam gets back, we'll talk about MLB. But NFL is kind of in the middle of the off season, so it's not a lot to talk about. But when fall comes around, I just want to say this. Inside the locker room as a whole, we'll have more content to talk about. I know all of us will be talking about NFL more come the fall. We'll also have more HBCU content in the fall. I know y'all really like the content that me and Michael did over the HBCU recaps in the fall. So just stay tuned to that. But I'm just letting y'all know this now, on video, on air, that look, the content is not, we have not stopped. We are still a team. We got busy schedules and we just have content that's kind of in a dead zone right now. But we're trying to make as much content as possible. I know if you stay tuned to the YouTube, I just posted one of Michael's episodes. So y'all go check that out. And me, MJ, and Ben recorded 3 videos yesterday. So check that out over AJ Brown, over Miles Garrett, and over Odell Beckham. So make sure y'all stay tuned to that. I believe our next time we said we are going to record is Tuesday. So make sure y'all are unaware for that. I don't know if it'll be just inside the locker room content or HBCU Central content, but Tuesday we will have some content for you. Maybe it'll be one or the other, or maybe it'll be both. We'll come up with something. But like me and Michael say, thank y'all for the support. And also, I'm really gonna say thank y'all for the support on our HBCU Central page on Instagram. We're at 330 followers, I believe, Michael. So we are rapidly growing. We're almost at 350, which means we're close to 400. So I'm gonna say this: thank y'all to the support. I can't keep saying it enough because the support has been coming fast. And me and Michael, it kind of means something because we started this from scratch. We didn't go out and buy followers. We didn't go out and we just trusted the process. Just trusted the process, and we're glad that y'all have been supporting our HBCU content. So, but anyways, to close this out, thank y'all for watching. And if you enjoyed having Michael run the show, stay tuned because I am experimenting with moving the voices around on our shows more often. So thank y'all for watching. Thank y'all for the support. It means a lot. And Michael, do you have any closing remarks?
Only thing I can say is pray for yourselves, check on your people, and also just make sure that you are financially stable out here. Life is hard, life gets to life in, but just make sure that you keep God first in everything that you do, and we will overcome. We will overcome the obstacles that are upon us. But that's really all I got to say. I wish y'all a very blessed and prosperous day. And I just until next time,
Thank you.
uh, grace and peace. We love y'all from HBCU Central, powered by Inside the Locker Room. Y'all have a great night.
And thank y'all for